small, the child is never going to stop crawling. But can you not think of coming out with such creativity? So when I introduce the word creativity, we lack making the people creative in teaching process because we are quite comfortable with going inside the classroom, use whatever be the tools, be it blackboard teaching or going for ICT or even the smart classroom, and today the online classroom. Whatever that we have as materials, we try to project them or try to complete the syllabus and we engage them. But unfortunately, the amount of time that we spend in asking questions to the students to come out with what could be the reason. Let me take up an example of if you are teaching manufacturing technology, and suppose if it is going to be using a 5-axis CNC machine, and if you ask them a question, what is the other technology by which we can make it? And if at all they have something in their mind, they would definitely say, probably they can even say additive manufacturing. And if that is going to be the case, you may say, if those two things have to be discussed, we should know first additive manufacturing. And whether it is for prototyping or it is for a product. And if it is for a product, what is going to be the material we are going to use? What could be the cost associated? What could be the number? And where it is used? So application oriented. So if all these questions are to be deliberated, then naturally it would be quite tough to complete the portions. That could be the only answer that everybody would say. But what has been already been a part of teaching learning process in the advanced US or the European, starting from the schools, is this project based learning, where you just allow the kids starting from the school to work together. And here, when you are going to be in engineering specific to our colleges, you could observe the first top 5% of the students do not have any problems. They just listen, carefully look at it, and do it. And you have the remaining 90% of the students who put in their effort, hard work, and try to understand. With the last 5% of the students, they would be definitely sitting only for the attendance or probably for just making something out of that time. So they are forced to sit inside. And it could be even a very interesting lecture. I am not denying that all of us do not take interest in delivering it. But unfortunately, because of non-engagement of the students, there is every possibility that the student just comes, loses interest in understanding, and unfortunately does not remember reading or even learning such a subject in his BE after 10 years. So, if at all we starting from the first year, how we can approach the entire development, then the entire revamping of the teaching learning process along with the curriculum, which may be more focused on learning based on the projects and your problem solving skill, is going to help them acquire the life skill, become more employable. And just observe at this. You may think that it is going to be a fungal infected sandwich, but it is not the case. So if you have so many reasons, just observe the bad. It is just the kind of coloring that is being kept. So the very instant, just for a small kid, if you could ask them, they would not take it because they will feel it is already probably infected with some bacteria அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு விட்டுடலாம். But those are just the bags, the design of the bags, which they call it as anti-theft lunch bags. Today we are more of a sedentary lifestyle where we become cautious by having looking at the waist size, the weight almost every day. So if you could come out with the belt buckle design, which would say almost instantaneously every day how much you are increasing or reducing, and if you have a goal. So these kind of solutions could have been out of the great amount of discussions, not just one, probably when the learning process itself has grown as a problem solving skill. And so our today's challenge that we have is the students themselves, when they have passed their school, all that are required is to remember, remember, remember. But whether they have the basic understanding of mathematics and science to apply it to engineering and apply the engineering to make a technology is where we have a very big gap. And this gap is because they lack the way in which they can think about, which nothing but lacking of numeracy and literacy. And they were not being allowed or they have not got involved in getting a solution to an existing problem, or they have deaf ears to look at it. So that is how they have been brought in the school days. But after completing the engineering, once you enter into, probably as teachers, you yourself, you are expected to control the students, inspire the students, and deliver something which you yourself could not have ever thought about or practiced in your lifetime. So only then you are going to be selected. If you just go say introduce yourself, you just say something what you know about, or if you are going to be very good in your technical skills, it need not be reflected as a teacher. The way you stand in front of the teacher, the way you see them, the way you try to engage with them, all these things depends on your communication. And this is what in traditional undergraduate teaching learning program, we see we are very poorly equipped. And also, you could see not all of us do research as it is. The inquisitiveness to approach to a problem and asking the questions how, why, and what, and further to whatever that is there, augmenting our existing knowledge with something that is probably contemporary with advanced countries today, thinking locally and making it globally approachable is what we have to do when we are doing research. And for all the peers who have started to do research, only the word of caution that I could give as mechanical engineers, if it is more mechanical engineers here, then I would say more people think of using the composites as one of the easiest ways, where they change the composition from one to another in metal matrix or in your natural fiber composite, one fiber to another fiber, changing of your resins, adding of your nano fillers, thereby only with the repeated impact and then charge strength, open hole test. That is, of course, a kind of way in which we can get a PhD degree. But after becoming a teacher, degree is something like what we have already got a BA and ME, but being a good teacher who can really inspire them, and wherever you feel at the end of the day you feel very satisfied if a teacher comes and says, if a student comes and says, I'm sorry, you are a very good teacher, sir. At the end of the course, in the farewell party, they say, I still remember the way you just approached to explain me that particular concept, which helped me in getting the job. So those kind of critical issues are very, very, very predominant. And for those people who have already been into teaching for more than 20 more than 20 years, the traditional methodology of the teaching is what we are got used to. And quite unfortunate today, the ICT-based learning, where even the small students, they use the so-called online coaching, and you can see the advertisements flashing with even the Bollywood superstars saying that they have this kind of learning methodology, that kind of learning methodology. Then the people, they just immediately see these videos, they just get what to know. So the moment they know what it is, the real interest of learning further is what a real teacher should do. And that in traditional teaching, we can never do it. because we use the full time of 40 to 55 minutes of making them understand the concept and we stop with it. And if at all it is the students' responsibility, the students do not take responsibility because they are not trained to think out of what it is required. Because all that the unfortunately the education system demands is they have to pass, they have to get a degree, but that is not going to make them very much big in life, and that is where we have to pitch in some modern technologies like this PBL. So, what is project-based learning? So all that they define is it is a methodology in which you identify the real time problems in the real world problems and allow the students to join together and develop a probable solution. The solution could be so silly. You could know that certain things are never viable, but you should never discourage. Remember, when I teach a subject called product design and development, people, whatever is infeasible should be encouraged. That is where what we think today as not feasible could always be a possibility in the future. When the technology has grown, we are talking about technologies like 5G, which could not have been imagined or thought about even 5 years back. So when you talk about quantum physics, quantum computing, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, your data mining, and the advanced subjects, then those kind of things you would not have heard about when you studied in your undergraduate or even in your postgraduate. Probably they were budding advanced technologies at that point of time. When you look at to the Gantt's hype chart, then you would say, yes, come on, this is not going to be possible. So the Gartner's hype cycle keeps shifting and reorienting the time phase. So the students, when they learn, they have to think it as a journey where it is not that they learn unit after unit. And to be honest, all the 5 units are disoriented. It is not that it follows the previous unit to understand the first unit. It have to be totally a collective one, nothing like that. So all that you have to make them is identifying real time or real world problems and allowing the students to use email. I am not talking about just the difference between the last one, your project where you are going to use the pre-existing knowledge. So a problem-based learning is allowing to develop student-centric learning, and that is where probably slowly this choice-based credit system has come. But in true spirit, are we still using the choice-based credit system? The NBA enforced rubrics of mapping the course outcomes to the program outcomes and assessing the students in the right manner. All these things are only on paper. So it could be very harsh to hear as teachers, are we not so responsible and not teaching them? To be honest, yes, we are doing it, but what could be more app? What could be the place where we lack, where we can bridge in is what we have to learn. And that comes out when the students are allowed to learn by themselves, when they are made to learn deeply more than what is being stipulated inside the curriculum and syllabus. And you may ask a very simple question, sir. It looks very easy when we hear these kind of terms, but do you believe that the students do take interest to learn something out of what is being prescribed? And the answers lies from the advanced countries where this kind of learning has already been introduced and been followed meticulously, and out of which these kind of strategies are being popularized. And to be honest, if we just have the roots looked into the curriculum system, all the basics are taught. But if you wanted to develop yourself, you have to allow the people to join together, work together, and think more about what is their strength and work on that. And doing so, they would be able to come out with very good communication, They would be able to come out with probable solutions which we could never have thought about it. So the people whom we are talking about, the last 5% who attend the classes exclusively for getting the attendance, the people who never gets engaged inside the classroom because of some personal reasons or reasons known only to them, are also being found more involved, more engaged, and become very successful learners and students, is what the reports from all the people who have already embraced this technology in US and your UK are reporting. So you have to split this entire teaching and learning process into listening, remembering, assessing, and forgetting cycles of education. And it is something where we have to become very strong working group and also make the student become understand about what is possible with him. And by that way, he would be having the courage to go into any industry where he can take up the responsibility to start a meeting. He would be able to do the minutes of all the meeting, and why not even share a meeting. So when you are going to enter into an industry, all that, when you look at the student, when you teach, they just repeatedly write what is being written on the board or what is being projected in the PPT. And today, when the PPTs are shared, they know, they just see as a, probably we can call it as a cinema. The teacher is the actor and the PPT is what the material they see, and they are going to just write. But reading between the lines, and if I assume all of you are very good teachers. I know you speak between the lines, but those important points, except for the top 5%, which is not a problem for actual learning process, would be the only people who take it down as notes, which is minuted. So those kind of things which we have it as a life skill, which helps to keep a kind of a monitoring check. What is that we have not done? What is that we should develop? So those kind of things. What is that has been spoken? All these things are not being trained, and unfortunately, you could see many of the project reports. They just write something, or probably as we could hear, people hire the project work from some of the concerns who sell the project. So that is also a kind of a shame in the present education system, where even the eighth semester project work, they do not apply whatever been they have learned in the last 7 semesters. So this methodology of project or problem-based learning is going to help in themselves identifying their choice, making them collaborate, develop their communication, increase their critical thinking, and become more creative, and thereby become caring to the entire world. And if you think of mechanical engineering as a mechanical engineer, not all could be excelling in all the subjects. Few of us would have natural inclination to solve problems starting from the engineering mechanics. You would be good in your kinematics. You can be good in your computer design and machine design. So they would be allowed to work on developing innovative solutions, providing creative design. So they would be more focused towards design. Certain people are abstract in looking at it, but I wanted to work on, feel it, then look at it. Then they become mechanical, mostly manufacturing engineers. And those people who wanted to have something as movement, understanding the entropy, enthalpy, how these energies change, and all those things, they become thermal refrigeration engineers. So, if at all you have a great understanding, and if we have the flexibility in creating a syllabus where at the end of half of the course you can become be a mechanical engineer with the specialization in engineering design, with specialization in thermal engineering, with specialization in manufacturing engineering. That is what is expected today, because it is not also advisable after entering into an industry to show yourself as a jack of all trades, shifting from design to manufacturing to thermal, or become an automobile engineer all of a sudden every year. That is never going to happen specifically in mechanical engineering, to be honest. So, if you are going to be an expert in one particular field and work for 5 to 10 years, at the age of 35 itself, you can become the boss of that particular field. So, that is where we are our own university administration should also think of having the flexibility of creating syllabus rather than have an AICTE or whatever body enforce education system which says this is the template, and the template should be made to allow, and that is what we call choice-based credit system. I'm not criticizing anybody, but still the template you are not supposed to increase or reduce, and you have 3 times to make them engage. But do you think that when the flexibility is not given, that kind of things can happen? So those are the challenges which, as you teachers, as I expert speaking here, are a person sitting in the administration, should think about when we wanted to make the actual engineers into real-time engineers who can work in the industry. So within engineering, if I have to be more specific, we have seen a kind of an opportunity where these R6Cs are going to give you skill development, and they would be able to have the skill developed in the undergraduate level itself to the levels that can be acquired at the master's level specific to their domain, which is more predominant. After completing BE Mechanical and going for a PG course for 2 years, whatever the skill you require and become a design engineer, you can think of revamping your curriculum and syllabus and teaching learning methodology, wherein at the end of 4 years itself, you would be able to become an expert design engineer or an expert manufacturing engineer. And fortunately, we are talking about some of the changes that the new education policy is giving, wherein you would be able to have this kind of freedoms, at least in the autonomous institutions. And if you just look at this kind of learning, if at all you have your friends, sons and daughters working in the field of medical or dental, you would have heard they are allowed to discuss with the seniors. They are made to work on real-time problems and provide solutions. So, what is being already there in the medical field are the one what we call it the advanced one is the one that we have to look into in engineering too. And how this can be implemented? It is quite easy. First of all, the students must be made to understand the problem. So let me take up a very simple example. If I am going to teach additive manufacturing, then I should make him impressed, understand why this technology has come, how your rapid prototyping has come. Whatever we do when we do a product development is we do prototyping. Probably the conventional clay to using your cardboards, probably if at all you wanted to make a physical functional prototype, then you should have gone for even casting, going for all the machining and then finalize it. But only for that, probably in the early stages of your product development or in the later stages of your product development, if you have a flexibility of using a single technology and create a kind of prototype, then it becomes easy. So, how this has come, where it can be applied, in what all ways you can think about it. If I make him understand, then if I could recall the knowledge that is applicable to the problem. So if I say I wanted a prototype, but using a conventional machine, I should first go for doing these set number of milling, thereafter your finishing, probably making a drilling, all those things into the final prototype, which if I think of using it for an injection molding, probably with soft tooling, wherein I can make an investment casting and complete it, then you would be able to understand rather than just know and teach him only what is additive manufacturing, the technologies, the materials. That is not going to help him. And you should make him make his own questions, formulative questions that may enable the problem to be solved. So if I say, I am not talking only about the advantages of additive, but there are also disadvantages of additive manufacturing. As of today, if I talk about metals, they are very costly. If I talk about post operation in certain applications, then it is quite disadvantageous. If I am talking about what is going to be the uh, process in which I can convert a material that is being used to prepare to whatever the final product, then it is never possible with the existing machine. So if we make them ask the questions, come out with the possible solutions, because rapid prototyping or additive, we are talking today, but the technology was there since 1980s. All the countries have already been into the next level. But today, when we are going to start teaching that as an elective, then we should say the so-called patterns are no more in existence. If you could think of coming out with designing and coming out with a small prototyping machine at a low cost, then that is going to help them. So for that, they should gather the knowledge and generate the understanding. So if we just make them show the direction, that is more than enough. They would start looking at not just the Wikipedias and Googles, but make them look at the research papers that are being recently published, which would be giving them the niche technologies of what the existing additive manufacturing is being used or applied. So when they can understand it, though it is going to be an elective subject, they would be able to do it. And when they can have this understanding and knowledge to solve the actual problem, then they would be able to demonstrate a solution. And remember, those solutions you and me could not have even thought about it, because you should remember a child is always creative. Our knowledge is the one that blocks to come out with creativity. When you know that we are nothing, then you could think, yes, செய்யக்கூடாது, why it is not possible? That question we would never ask, because we would have failed in understanding if it can be, for example, if one says it is a sticky surface, you walk, you will fall. We know that is a lack of friction, it is a polished surface, we want something to be holding it. But if you make the child, it may just skip and do and all those things, and it can, what you think as the friction as evil, the person could make it as friction is a necessary evil. So those are the things when we talk about giving them some problems and ask them to come out with a possible solution. Every batch of students definitely would be able to come out with solutions which we would be able to consolidate, and over a period of time, whatever the students, they would be thinking in the same way. But the next time we have to approach our give a solution or give a problem, both in a different way. This is what I'm expecting. So they would be able to come out with a different problem for a different solution and a different solution for a different problem. So the problem-based learning is one of the ways which would be making them to become extremely professional. And you should remember and understand the professional engineers and researchers are doing that in everyday life. And all that I am trying to inspire you is that kind of lifestyle is what we have to create starting from the day they enter into the engineering college. So your problem-based learning, as I just already said, is not what is called as project-based learning, because for your problem-based learning, it requires something which we fail to do it. They have to synthesize, they have to join and work together, have the groupism of developing their own knowledge, and it is not application of knowledge as we do in the eighth semester, which is project based learning. So There are different ways in which this can be tried to out. So you can give some case studies and try to make them learn. You can give a challenge and make them, and you can come out with some kind of game, make them learn. We can make them some inquiries and ask them to come out with a solution. We can give a kind of a work and come out with a kind of learning. So this is not just limited to the ones that are being projected here. And even adopting one in one of the subjects that we teach itself is a very big thing. So how we have to look at this? It is more and more if people are asked to work on combined projects where you don't worry about the final report and all those things. You all look at the real world problems for which you are going to come out with the best possible solutions. And it is not expertise where we say, making them feel you are stupid. Is this a problem? That is not the case. We should make them student centered so they can come out with stupid solutions. Where we are to say them as stupid, because even Albert Einstein was failed to be adopted or accepted as a teacher. He was not given the post of assistant professor those days. So when we look at the student, we have to be constructive. We should make him collaborative, increase his creative skills. And today, most of the students fail to develop their communication for more reasons only known to them. So all this is totally on communication. So how well they are able to communicate their ideas to the entire world, and how they become confident by asking inquiries, going and searching for knowledge, which itself is something like doing research at the age of 18 and 19 in their first and second year itself. Thereby, you create a technology enhanced society, and definitely that is the need and norm of the 21st century. And thereby, you keep on increasing your standard rigorously and relevantly. So, as teachers, how are we supposed to do it? We should look at the resources that are available. And of course, we are not trained to, and unfortunately, in doing so, we require a lot of libraries, e-libraries, learning the best practices adopted, as I said, more than 20 years, the universities in the US or in the Europe have already started to do it. And probably shifting from one form of teaching to another form of teaching is going to be a very hard task for a hardcore teacher who has been in teaching for more than 10 years. But if it is a new teaching, then you know this is how it should be taught. So you train him. So in academic staff colleges, you train the teacher to look and rephrase his orientation of teaching. And thereby, you also make him understand what impact he is going to make on the student's learning experience. And thereby, he would be able to shift the methodology of assessment. Thereby, you would be making the amount of work that the students reflect, probably in terms of number of startup companies, number of new products they are coming up, and all the other things associated with making the institution and the individual department and the individual teacher proud. So those kind of things are all possible. And how we can do that? I'm just giving you a guideline, which is once again taken from the presentation of one of the professors from Manchester University, wherein when they just looked at the entire curriculum, they have to revamp, wherein from year one to year four, rather than acquiring the skills, acquiring the knowledge to approach to and give the solution was more important. So for a new UG program, all that they say is you should have inverse of acquisition of skills, by which you don't have to make the students only in the final year to become more employable. Starting from the first year, they should be communicable. They should enhance the creativity. And at the end of final year, if I am going to be a design engineer, not knowing the mathematical concepts or using the MATLAB, but write a code to work on a new FEA package is what my intention is. That is how my entire curriculum should be rephrased. So the year on theme, they were able to rework in the first year, should be more focused on learning the basics with advanced. Second year, you should make them become a designer as well as an integrator. And third year, you should make him think like a professional engineer. In the final year, it should be a kind where he is able to come out his own specialization in which he can even approach a research oriented problem. And once, if this is going to be the methodology in which entire curriculum is going to be replaced, then you should come out at the beginning of the program objective itself, the aims and objectives. And today we see you cannot just remember only a certain thing and keep on believing that you will continue till the end of your career. It has to be kept rephrased. Even in the present system, in university, we are having every 4 years the curriculum and syllabus being revamped along with the people from the scientific labs, from NITs, IIScs, other universities, and why not even from the experts taken from the industry. But it is done merely as an exercise. But if you really wanted to see something is going to change, all engineers have to know everything. Today, a mechanical engineer should know about cloud computing, should know about artificial intelligence, should know about machine learning. And if I'm talking a mechanical engineer to know something about computer science, the computer science engineer should know how you have to make the casing for your smartphone, how a simple TV panel are made, so which is more related to electronics as well as you require a mechanical skill. So when we started learning, probably in the late 80s and early 90s, the first year program were common. So what was once seen, it is not the old wine in the new bottle. It was there as a common program, and only in the second year we split it into streams. But the common theme that they have learned should be on the more advanced side rather than only the basics, because that basics are already been into the school engineer. The school are being engineered to teach it. So if you look at the syllabus, even the Tamil Nadu government have kept more at par with that is being taught in the CBSE schools. So rather than once again teaching the advanced of the science and all the other things related to that specific program, you should see that it should be common to all and being introduced in the second year, more of inquisitiveness towards that particular stream, and in the third year and final year towards the main degree programs. And thereby, in the third year itself, if we could identify in the final year the research and the inquisitiveness to come out with the product should be towards a specialization. As I just mentioned, we can have BE mechanical engineering with specialization in engineering design, BE mechanical engineering with specialization in thermal engineering, and so on. And just for an understanding, they have also given a kind in which their syllabus, starting from what should be known as an aerospace engineer to even a mechanical engineer, be it on electronics or rocket. And you could see the structured learning units includes not just mathematics, but also design, mechatronics, thermal fluids, statics, and dynamics. And in the second semester of first year, you also include, probably if you talk about automobiles, they should have something. Today we are talking about Ola coming and establishing the largest factory in electric vehicle in Tamil Nadu and going to generate 10,000 jobs. And if that is going to be the truth, and we are talking about Apple going to establish one more factory with more than 20,000 jobs, 80% more only towards the women, then do they have such kind of things? So is it only towards the diploma and the polytechnics? No. So if we look at it, If we are talking about electric vehicles, today already the hybrid vehicles and electric vehicles have been flooded more by the Chinese technology. So if they have to look at it, then you have to come out with the understanding that in the first year itself, we should not just introduce the automobile and your electric vehicle, but more in the units, we should include something like CFD, where your aerodynamic forces, how you can reduce the aerodynamic drags when you design your professional cars. Because today we are not talking about just mere small cars, but we are also talking about Formula One electric vehicles, which has already been done extensively. So if you are going to just come out with uh, kind of new curriculum, then this is how you should look at it. And in the teaching process, you should have just mere 3 hours of introductory session where you give a very clear introductory lecture. You should give all sample examples how you are going to go about and a very small short lecture rather than giving a very detailed elaborate lecture. Today if I have to learn, I have to do. So when we believe that you see, you can understand. When you do, you can really get it into your head. You can become a master of it. So you hear, you just forget. So rather than just delivering lectures which the students are tending to forget, and only after reading the books they write the assessment. So they don't forget it. So what you have to do is you have to start developing a curriculum which enables the teaching methodology of combining the students into a group, thereby at the end of it they join together. One could be an extraordinarily intelligent in mathematics, the other person could be very good in computers, the other person could be in some other vertical. So they would be able to relate, work together. They try to reinforce the material and try to come out with a solution. And once they have started the kind of practice when they enter into engineering itself, we could see in the second year they become still more professional. They know how to go about with coming out with a complete design. Just you ask any student to find out the problem in your car when it is going to have a kind of thing, they would not be able to look at it. But the eighth failed roadside technician, you will just come, you will just tighten the probably the connection between your motor and your battery, and it starts. So that is where your understanding lies. So if you think yourself as an engineer, I am talking like how a polytechnic itself should be there. But if I wanted our education system to be revamped, you should see when they enter into the second year, they should have the understanding with respect to automobile to take care of impact from all the directions. So when we teach engineering mechanics, we are teaching about the force and the reactions and of course all the other things. So in that case, if you do have an extended two-dimensional to a three-dimensional structure and a frontal impact or a side over impact or a rolling impact, then you would be able to resolve the forces and of course the softwares are there. So they can start working on. So that is where if you are going to be a curriculum developer, you could see be mechanical engineering with specialization in automotive design. So those kind of things are the ones that you should do. From what was there as 3 hours lectures, in the second year, you can still increase it to 4, which could be of a 6 week long design challenge. And thereby, when you are going to be given of your choice. And of course, since it is going to be student centric, you are going to have a comprehensive understanding of mechanical engineering given to each of the students. But apart from that, you are also going to make them learn their skills, learn their understanding, and thereupon the students will parallelly start taking up your understanding that you teach when they move with people, when they know how to join, pool the money and finish the project. They know how to develop the business units and management skills also, starting from the second year itself. In the third year and final year, they almost become professional, wherein all that they have completed, they would start utilizing it in the most appropriate way, and thereby your teaching methodology should also be totally changed. So, in the third year itself, your aim and objective is towards product development rather than just once again teaching design, once again teaching the engineering mechanics in the refined form in maybe in machine design or in your FEA. You should make them come out with products. And when they are very strong, they would be able to complete and develop their skill to the highest professional level. And how we can do it? So the professor has very clearly said in the first year, it is 4 hours with 4 days. And on Thursdays, they had formative worksheets and assessment. And thereupon, they started to have exclusive training to have professional development. You should also have a structured teaching process wherein what is to be done in the morning, what is to be done in the afternoon, who is to deliver, what lecture they have to be delivered. Everything has been very meticulously planned, specific to one particular curriculum and the course. And at the end, when they have to understand, they just give some of the problems. In the said example, the professor has taken up methodology of taking the project called where there was a big roller coaster, Moss Side Fantasyland and Cyber City, and this one had some damage, and because of that, there has been a fear. So, how to remove the fear? The no fear of this particular roller coaster. So, if there is going to be a case, if at all you visited the Queensland or any other uh, fantasy parks, these roller coasters, they just flip and make a somersault and go at a relatively higher speed, wherein you are almost about to just come out of fear when you just land at the end. So those kind of things, how you make it still more probably kind of feel that the people are having that there is no fear. So that one, which even if I try to explain it or if you read it, which is going to be a big issue. And you may think it is a very large issue, only a company which designed it, or the mindset of the people, those kind of psychological problems, everything has to be addressed. But that was given, and they were asked to work as group, and the professors were there to facilitate the entire session. They just asked the students to identify the causes of failure, probably what was the reason for failure, and at what velocity and normal acceleration the car usually runs, and what are the loads and how the resultant stresses are acting on the axle, and in which way the designer, the blueprint is being taken up. Do we have any other methodologies? And probably the existing material could have been poor. Can we change it? Something like that. So all these things were being parallelly given. So this becomes the headache if you are going to be a teacher. So you should have first hands-on knowledge and understanding to approach to a problem-solving skill. So if you yourself do not have that, that is where your level of understanding and teaching should increase, which is once again a challenge. And I'm happy with this lecture. Probably once you go to the next teaching next week, you would be able to give a problem. You yourself would be able to see for that what are the ways in which you can approach and come out with a solution. So the outcome is the people were able to form and formulate kinematic equations. They use the kinetics, the statics, the advanced MATLAB, mathematics, and all the design software. When they were given the test, you know all the previous ones that I mentioned: learning MATLAB, learning mathematics and design, learning statics, dynamics, kinetics and kinematics, is we are already teaching it. So we give a formulative test after 3 days, because when you have it only in a periodic manner, twice in a year, two tests, best of two. You give 50 marks internal or 20 marks internal, depending on whether it is a autonomous college or an institution affiliated to an university. Then they study only that day. What they do on the other days, when we say spend your 4 years fruitfully and your next 40 years of your lifetime will be fruitful, all that they inspire from the movies and see that it is a job not to be taken seriously. Only before the assessments or before your end semester, they take it seriously. So when we are going to completely revamp the learning process, it is up to them to yearn the learning rather than forcing them. So that is where they themselves get occupied. They don't have something to discuss which is not out of whatever we talk about, gossiping, looking at unwanted things. So they are being trained to work, trained to go with these kind of testing procedures, and thereby you are going to make them more employable, more communicable, more creative. And if this is going to be the case, you yourself are also going to keep yourself occupied as teachers, and you would find one batch of students and other batch of students, it could be same or there is a minor changes. You would also be more involved to not only teach assessment and all those other things. So when they work as a group, you know what is going to be the way in which they keep their reports varied from the other batches. For the same problem, there could be five different approaches. How they are varied? Probably the methodology in presentation, the methodology in approaching using the same mathematics in a different way. So all these things are going to make them creative, more compelling to become more professional by looking at the person not to copy it, but also become more competitive with each other. And thereby, the students, they develop their personality development. The tutor also develops his skill and all the other things. You would be coming out with a end product, the student who is more employable. And by doing so, the teachers are we who are going to act as a guide and not the sage on the stage. So we are not going to be there like I know everything. We are not sages. We are just a guide. So thereby, the people we are talking about as examples, be it starting from Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or Sir C.V. Raman or Ramanujam, who are their teachers? Nobody knows. The students, if they achieve, let them take the credit. We are always going to be the ladders or stepping stones. We can have the satisfaction of seeing our students. Definitely, the professional ethic that you are going to make them by having a fair assessment, making them more involved, engaging with them, the courtesy, the last one, as I said, becoming more choice, starting from the choice to the last one becoming more responsible, are all going to be the one that you are going to get it a sense of satisfaction. So when you start in the very first year, you are going to start still more where you do not know the individual skills of any of the students. So when you are going to randomly pick and assign them, they just try to mingle together. And as they go down the second and third year, birds of same feather flock together. All the people engaging them. And remember, it is not that a group would be always with one skill. So you should have an agglomerated group of all the vertical thinking people. So you should not have only design thinking people, only creative people, only people with manufacturing skills. So you typically
Sir, your audio is breaking, sir. Shanmugasundaram, sir. A participant, kindly wait. I think for expert members having some network issues, sir. Yeah, thank you, Venkatesh Raju, sir.
sir, is it audible now?
Yeah, yes, sir. Now only it is audible. Yeah,
Okay.
I think you connected, right, sir?
It went off long time back or only recently, sir?
Yeah, recently, sir. Only recently.
Yes,
Sir, now you can share your screen, sir. It's
yeah, yeah.
available. Yeah.
Doing it.
The key issues is staff training.
This was the last slide you were
Yeah,
able to.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So unfortunately, as teachers, we are not so trained to be into this kind of teaching process. So since it is quite unfamiliar, we also have some kind of feeling whether this kind of teaching practice would be possible and it could have a fruitful result. So you don't have to feel insecure is what they were able to say as case studies for the past 15 to 20 years. So it is also not to be thought of as a staff loading process where you have to become accountable every day in making the student learn, and when they come out with inquiries you have to keep uh, explaining them where it is wrong, where it is not. So it is in some way more student oriented where the staff should also keep reskilling, upgrading and relearning the concept. So it is a very tough process being a teacher. So you have to keep yourself on your toes, learning new things, and that is where your teaching difficulty comes up. And by adopting this practice, we have to increase the library books. As you could see, the internet access just failed for me. So you should have good internet access wherein before the students can think about it, you should think and develop your skill. And you cannot take your own time of giving the feedback process. So you should have a kind of a foolproof system where their methodology, their progress, everything are being corrected. Thereby, when they come out with the finished product, they have a complete understanding. In the project-based learning, as you could see in the 8th semester, they submit the projects, and at assessment 1, assessment 2, assessment 3, the review 1, or otherwise you call it, you just look at whatever they have done it. But you just give a correction at the third review, which can never be done. So those are the ones that is not possible if you try to adopt this PBL. And thereby, you could see it is not that you are identifying the weakness of the student when it is going to be a very large number like 120, but it is going to be when you are going to have them seen as 8, 1 is to 8 or 1 is to 4, then definitely it is going to be quite easy. And thereby, the students also feel insecure in the beginning when they are going to be monitored, when they are going to be called regularly, and when their progress are being monitored. Then, at over a period of time, even those students would get augmented to learning and developing himself. And thereby, these 4 years is going to make look like a learning experience of 6 years or even 10 years. So the same 4 years, you can convert that by your engineering teaching practice, wherein they are able to come out with a critical thinking solution for the problems which only a researcher or a postgraduate completed student can give. So thereby, when they enter into the industry, what is expected out of them? They become industry ready. And the student support and guidelines that you are going to develop within your organization, be it a college or an university, is going to be supreme. So you are going to monitor at everyday places, and thereby not only the teachers become leaders, not only the students become leaders, our entire system of education, we are going to have people who are going to become very, very, very good in their academics. Thereby, you are going to have a fruitful development of the nation. So the overall development that they were able to prove for one of the case studies is after the second version, after one batch has passed out, they were able to identify the lapses in the evaluating procedure, the problem defining procedure, the assessment procedure. Thereby, the students who came as the second batch, they were able to add additional effort. And once again, that effort should be from the teaching, which once again we faculty take it up. So thereby, both by internal reviews among yourself or by having an expert or a group coming and looking at how you are implementing this PBL in your college or your university or your department, they were able to reorient, and thereby the final outcome of this PBL was so supreme. So today, all that I can say is you own this entire process, wherein you take up the responsibility of making the students employable. So you are your own version of your aims and objectives. So they are going to make themselves feel proud that yes, if I am going to be, for example, if I just say you have to remove the switch and change it, people would not even think, go and open it. They do not know they have to cut down the fuse so that the line does not come to that particular thing. Thereby, even without major, uh, probably you can call it as apparels, you can start working on even your electricity. So those kind of things is what, and this is the last slide. When you go for your project-based learning, you should have a inquisitiveness to develop the design and plan your entire curriculum and syllabus and teaching learning process. Thereby, you align to the standards that are being practiced globally. You build a culture in your entire learning environment whereby it is not addressed to only the students who are willing to learn. You also have an inclusive learning of even the last 5% who are disoriented and disengaged. Thereby, you increase the management capability of yourself as well as those students, where your teachers are going to be acting as scaffolds where they are made to learn still further, and you are going to have student oriented self-learning assessment process, and by that, at the end of it, you are going to have greater amount of engagement, and you are going to coach the students to become more professionally research skilled engineers when they pass out of the fourth year. So that is what we mean by PBL burst learning, wherein the teacher's role is also equally important, teaching and learning in engineering. It is not just for the schools but also for engineering. And I just wish to once again thank the Sairam institutions for allowing me to take this small lecture for all the people who are in this group. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to clarify.
Thank you, Dr. Shanmugasundaram, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your kind lecture and also the very informative lecture.
Thank you.
That is, we are the faculty community. We already gone through a lot of project-oriented teaching method. We already follow that method. But from this section, the teachers knows how efficient we have to tune up the project batches in the future, and how to get in full involvement of the student batches, and how we can convert the transform. That is a transform from the lower level project into higher level project. Either it may be patternable one. Yeah, we remember you remember your gold standard BPL, sir, project-based teaching practices. This was a wonderful section. I thank you very much for your kind um, spending of the time with us for our faculty community. I thank you very much, sir. If participants, if you're having any queries specific related to this topic, kindly interact with the Professor Dr. K. Shanmugasundaram, sir, from CEG, College of Engineering, India, Design Department. The participants, if you are having any questions, kindly put it in the chat box, or else you can unmute yourself and then ask the questions. Sir, with your kind permission, I will share your email ID to our all participants, sir, in
Okay.
future
Yeah,
purpose.
at gmail.com. Dr.K.Shanmugasundaram@gmail.com. I
Yeah,
want to
yes, sir.
thank all of you because learning is a continuous process, and I'm happy that all of you have taken some time to join these kind of sessions. And I'm sure even it could have been boring for some of you could have been quite interesting, and it all depends on the connectivity and all the other things. So, in spite of that, I could see around 60 participants have come. I thank each and every one of you for being present here, and hope if at all there are any questions that you cannot voice it out now, you can send an email at the DRK, Dr. K. Shanmugasundaram at gmail.com. DARM. Certain times you type it as SUNDRAM, Sundaram, DARAM at gmail.com.
Email.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I think this was a wonderful section towards the teaching pedagogy, that is a project-based teaching pedagogy for our students. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay.
நீங்க லீவ் பண்ணிக்கங்க சார். Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, participants. I think the feedback link will be shared by your um, assistant professor, Arun Kumar sir, for this section and also the morning section. I request participants kindly put your feedback and also the valuable suggestions about this section, and that will be initiated through our faculty. And today we are having another section, 2:30 p.m. today. Kindly join with us. Dr. Balasubramanian sir, HOD Manufacturing Department, Annamalai University, will come and deliver the talk through online. Kindly join us at 2:30 sharp. And we are in the third day of our section, and we are having 3 more days. And the final day, afternoon, you are having an assessment exam, that is an online assessment test. These are very simple questions are there about these sections. Okay, that is about the topics which will covered in this SATP, that is IST program. And this IST program, AICTE sponsored IST program, the participant will benefited. Is supposed to get two certificates. One certificate from our side, and we will send the participant list and attendance certificate to AICTE IST head office, and in future they will provide us individual certificate for you. Last time, that is 2017, we conducted this kind of a ISP program, in a physical manner, that is a physical interaction with the faculty members. And that time, the faculty received two certificates from one certificate from our side and another one certificate from AICTE IST head office. And kindly, for this reason, kindly I request all the participants kindly attend all the sections and get benefited. If any other things want to clarify, you just unmute yourself and then ask me. If any clarification is there about this AICTE IST program, that is a FDP program, refresher induction course, if you kindly unmute yourself and interact with me. Yeah, that introduction section of participants is not be conducted in the first day. Suppose you are having any interaction, you just unmute yourself and then ask the questions and also introduce yourself.